Have you ever thought, why do I suck at fantasy football? Welcome. This is the Commissioner Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome, and again, thank you for joining me here with the Commissioner, your host, your guide. Hopefully these episodes are helping you prepare for your draft, helping you prepare for the season, and also to have some fun. So what I want to get into today is talk about something I already talked about, but it's scoring. And what I'm going to talk about is tier PPR. It's something new. People have not caught up with it yet. So a lot of leagues that I'm in that I've been proposing, this recently, one of my leagues that I commissioned, I proposed it, we voted on it. We got a unanimous 9 out of 10 votes. So a lot of people said, okay, let's try something new. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the league that says, hey, let's try something new. I did mention how tier PPR works. And I want to go over that one more time. And again, with tier PPR, you can set your scoring in various ways, the way you guys want to. So when I proposed the scoring to my league, I explained to them what each yardage, how many yards will equal how many points. So you want to do that if you're proposing this. And again, most apps don't have that function or that functionality for you to do that, like ESPN, Yahoo, NFL, they don't give you that option. So that's why I've been, after using the Sleeper app, get the Sleeper app. But after using the Sleeper app, they added this function which hasn't really taken off yet in the fantasy football world, right? But a lot of leagues are starting to pick up. And I just want to be an advocate of that. So if you're listening, and if you haven't heard of tier PPR, again, in Sleeper app, you can customize it how you want it. So in the leagues that I'm in, the way I customized it was from 0 to 4 yards, I made it equal to 0.1. So very little value or very little points given to a short catch under 5 yards. From 5 to 9 yards, I give it 0.25. Again, I think I went over this. So from 10 to 19, I give it 0.5, a half point. From 20 to 29, I give it 0.75, so not yet still a full point. And anything after 30 yards for me, we put in our league, it's 1 point PPR. So 50-yard pass, so whatever it is, we score it as 1 point. Again, you could change it. I've seen some leagues go to 1.5, 1.25. So you can kind of fluctuate it or customize it the way you want. So we might change it up in a few years. I don't know yet. For now, we're playing like I just explained. We have this setting in both of my leagues that I'm commissioning. So far in the other league, this is the second year we're doing, and it's been fine. So we're okay. So I'll review it again. I'll go over it, see how I could balance it out. But I wanted to give an example of the differences that standard scoring, half point PPR, full point PPR, and tier PPR makes. And again, this example does not apply to all examples. So I will get that argument. Well, that doesn't always happen, your example. But it does happen sometimes. And that's what I want to go over. So today I'm going to use an example of Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, who's a great running back who loves catching passes. Okay, and Calvin Ridley, my new favorite wide receiver that I'm hopefully to draft soon. So I haven't drafted in 2 leagues that I drafted. I haven't drafted him yet, but I hope I get Calvin Ridley. All right, so let's begin. So we'll start with, I'll do the setup, but we'll do standard, half point, full point, and then I'll get to the tier point PPR and what the conclusion is. And kind of, hopefully it makes sense using an example. All right, so what I'm going to do is use an example of a game for Todd Gurley and Calvin Ridley. 2 guys in the same team, but I'm going to use them as an example. So Todd Gurley in this game with Matt Ryan catches 10 passes. In their system, it's possible. Devonta Freeman caught a lot of passes. Tevin Coleman, when he was there, caught a lot of passes. So Matt Ryan is one of those quarterbacks that likes to dump it off. If he can't find anybody, he dumps it off. a great system. A lot of Tom Brady used it. So Todd Gurley in this example has 10 catches. And those catches equate to 50 yards. So I'm going to try to use like even numbers too. So 10 catches for 50 yards. Calvin Ridley in the same game has 4 catches for 80 yards. So here's the difference. 10 catches, 50 yards, 4 catches, 80 yards. On top of that, I'll have to add Gurley does rush in this game because he got a lot of passes. They might have been behind. So he rushed only 60 yards. It's not great, but it's decent. 60 yards. All right, so let's go to standard scoring. In the standard scoring, when you equate 10 catches for Todd Gurley, that equates to nothing because there's no scoring for catches. So 50 yards equals, 1 point for 10 yards. That's 5 points. And then he rushed for 60 yards, so a total of 11 points. I'm just looking at my screen to make sure I'm correct. So 11 points. Calvin Ridley in this game, no PPR, 80 yards, he scores a total of 80 points. 1 point per 10 yards equals 80 points. Everybody good? So there's not a lot of difference, right? And that's why a lot of people argue for standard leagues, because when a running back goes off like this and catches a lot of passes, it doesn't balance him off to Calvin Ridley. That's a decent game. 80 yards, 4 catches, not a bad game. In the standard league scoring, you got 11 for Todd Gurley. You got 8 for Calvin Ridley. They didn't break you. They didn't win you a week. It's not bad. We're going to half-point PPR now. All right. So in this scenario, same scenario, doing some math here. So kind of stay with me here. I'll try to slow down as much as I can. Half-point PPR, Todd Gurley catches 10 passes. Now each pass is half a point. That equals a total of 5 points for just catches. 5 points plus 5 points for his yards, 50 yards. That's a total of 10 points plus his 60 yards. That totals out to 16 fantasy points in this game, okay? Calvin Ridley catches 4 passes, which equal half a point each pass. That's a total of 2 points. 4 catches, 2 points. You could just divide it by 2. So he has 2 points. On top of that, he has the 80 yards. So 8 plus 2 equals 10. So you can see there's a little difference now with PPR. Todd Gurley becomes a little more valuable. 16 to 10. Okay. Now let's go to full point PPR. Same scenario, full point PPR. 10 catches instead of equaling 5, Todd Gurley gets 10 points. On top of that, he has 50 yards from receiving, which is 5 points. Total of now 15, plus his 60 rushing yards. That's a total of, grand total of, come on, it's 21. Calvin Ridley, on the other hand, 4 catches, 1 point per catch. That's 4 points. Top it off with his 80 yards. That's a total of 8 points, and that equates to 12 points. Same amount of yards, same amount of catches. We're being used in different scoring system, but in PPR, full point PPR, you can see what the difference is. 21 for Todd Gurley and 12 points for Calvin Ridley. Now you see the gap, and that's why I agree with those people who argue against full point PPR. You're so focused on these running backs that a lot of times don't get drafted until the end. James White, okay? Good example, Chris Thompson. I remember Theo Riddick. Even if you go back a little further, Danny Woodhead. These guys caught a lot of passes. All these catches accumulate. And I remember watching games with Tom Brady and James White, and they're down, or they're maybe not even down in the half, and they got like a minute left. And all the wide receivers are at the end. He's just dumping it off. 3, 4, 5 passes in like a minute to James White. And so you could tell the disbalance with full point PPR. And so I understand the arguments for both, but a full point PPR, this is what I'm trying to argue here. And the other ones, it was the half point PPR wasn't that too much of a difference. Still a difference. Standard was pretty close. Now I'll finish off and go to tier PPR. So same situation, but let's break it down. But now it breaks down what kind of passes were caught. So what I did with Todd Gurley is all his passes were short, 5 yards. It's not going to happen all the time, okay? But bear with me. 5 yards for these 10 catches, he had 5 yards. So remember, 5 yards equals 0.25. So not full point, but not even a half point, but 0.25 for 5 to 10 yards in our leagues. I'm using my league as an example. He catches 10 of those passes. That equates to, 0.25 times 10. That's only 2.5 points for his catches. On top of that, let's add the 50 yards. I did my math from reading it here. But you have 50 yards, that equals 7.5 points for his catches. On top of that, you want to add his 60 rushing yards. You're at 13.5 as total. So the short passes, even though he caught them, they give some value, but not a lot of value because they're not long passes. So he's at 13.5. Calvin Ridley in this situation, I broke it down to he caught 2 10-yard passes, so maybe some slant passes, 2 10-yard passes, which equal half point PPR, 0.50. So 2 of them, that's 1 point. And then he had 2 30-yard passes, longer passes. They equal 1 point each, because that's a full point PPR. That's 2 points. So now his total for the PPR is 3 points, plus his 80 yards, he's got 11 points. So now in this game, in the tier PPR system, we have Todd Gurley with 13.5, and then we have Ridley with 11 points. So going back to the standard 11 and 8, 13.5 and 11, you could tell they're pretty similar. But now people are still being rewarded for the catches. And that's why I think tier PPR is going to be something in the future that everybody's going to do. I don't know when it's going to catch up. I don't know when everybody's going to kind of catch up with this kind of scoring, but it's going to happen. So again, if you want to get into it, maybe not this year, but for next year, vote with your league mates. First thing you got to do is switch to Sleeper app. That's the first thing you got to do, because the Sleeper app allows you to customize to this type of scoring. So hopefully this example helps into kind of the argument why tier PPR balances out the whole argument with the people that have against full point PPR or half point PPR, because not all catches are equal. That's the bottom line. And I want to finish on that. Not all catches are equal, and they're not fair at the end. So hopefully this helps in the explanation of what tier PPR is, and hopefully in your league you'll talk about it, and hopefully you'll switch to it. I really hope that maybe ESPN will catch up, Yahoo will catch up, and NFL will catch up to update their apps to allow people to customize the way the league wants to customize. But they haven't, so that's why I think the Sleeper app is taking off. That's why I love the Sleeper app for other reasons too, but this is one of the main reasons. So hopefully this helped. Again, good luck to you guys in your drafts in the season. Again, have fun. And if you're a commissioner, if you need to make changes, get the votes in. Talk to your league. I'll leave it on this. What I do in my league, I text individually of the rule changes. I let them vote, and then I'll add it up, and if it's a majority, we'll change it. So I've been doing it for years like this. So every year there's some kind of new change, something new. People are going to have more fun in your leagues that way. All right? So hopefully this helps. Guys, take care and good luck.
Dude, you better not be sleeping after that podcast. That was an amazing message. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Commissioner. Also subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Any comments, questions, concerns, send them to the Instagram page, The Commissioner, your fantasy football guide.